So I'm going to begin today's webinar. It's going to be on RI integration. A big caveat today is that we're not using the regular sites that you use for ClubRunner. The interface is going to be exactly the same. We're on a different server. So this server is our development environment. We are not allowed to show actual members. Everything, all the member information, everything you'll be seeing today, it'll be blank. So you'll be, I do apologize if there's any slowdowns or delays. This is not our regular environment. We're using the developer's environment today. Okay, I'm going to get right into it. So I've already logged in. I'm going to click on member area. Okay, and as I'm going along, any questions, please do type them. So what we're going to do is we're going to start from scratch. Let's say you're a new club, you're new to ClubRunner, you want to use RI integration, you've heard about it, you don't know anything other than there's this thing called RI integration. So what we're going to do, I'm logged in, and let's just explore it. So up in the top blue tabs, admin, my ClubRunner communication, a lot of what we'll be doing today is here in the RI integration tab. I'm going to click on the tab. It won't load any page, but it will load some gray bar, the gray bar below, our integration settings and all this. So we're going to get through all this. I want to begin with RI integration settings. So I'm going to click on this. And to start with, I've turned it actually off. So before you see this, you'll see this big yellow box, and it's like, hey, that's great. I just have to check a box, and it's turned on. To actually turn or activate this box, so you can check the box, you have to go to RI. And you have to turn on integration. So I want to spend just a second on this, because what this means is if you would like to set up automatic integration with Rotary International, what that means is you log into My Rotary, and what you'll do is you'll give permission to ClubRunner to speak to the RI database. The whole point of member integration is when you make a change in ClubRunner, it automatically gets sent to RI. That's the whole purpose of it. So what you want to do first, before we get to any kind of comparing or seeing what's on each database, is you have to actually opt in, and you do that at myrotary.org. We have a help article. Now, don't worry that maybe you can read it or you can't make out the URL or whatever. We're going to have a list of all the attendees of today's webinar, so I will send this link to all of you. It's a knowledge-based article, basically. How do you begin by setting up automatic integration? It goes through all the steps. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to read everything. I am going to skim through it just very quickly. You'll sign into My Rotary. This is not done at ClubRunner. You'll go to myrotary.org. You'll sign in. You'll go to Manage and Club Administration. And by the way, I'm skimming through this on purpose because we don't have access to the RI website. So you'll essentially, ClubRunner will become a club management partner. In other words, we'll become a vendor partner. That just means that you are allowing ClubRunner to be your database vendor of choice. We'll be able to send information to RI, and RI will be able to accept it. This goes through most of the steps. I'm going to stop here when it says in ClubRunner, but essentially, and I skimmed through almost everything, you're basically, after you click agree, there is going to be a roughly 24-hour delay. What that means is you click agree, and you wait about a day, and then this will appear. I'm back here. I'm logged into our fictitious club Tavistock, and this yellow box will appear after 24 hours. What that means is you'll be able to now switch on data integration. So after you've completed the steps at RI, gone through all this process, this yellow box will appear, and I'm just going to go ahead and check the box. What I'm doing now when I check the box is I'm basically turning on the communication between ClubRunner and RI. So now the communication is turned on. The standard communication is read and update. What that means, you make a change in ClubRunner, it will automatically flow up to RI. It will not push everything. Not every last thing will be changed. For example, member profile photo, that's not going to get sent to RI. If you're curious, well, what does get sent to RI? I'm going to scroll down a little bit on this same screen. I want to talk about what you can opt in and opt out of. This is at the club level. So what this means, this is what we're sending to Rotary International or vice versa. Name, you can't even select the checkbox because we have to send the person's name, so that's kind of a given. You can't opt out of sending, your name, John Smith or Jane Doe. All the other fields you can check or uncheck. What that means is right now, allow birthday is unchecked. What that means is that we are not sending birthday information to Rotary International. Now I'm going to turn that on. And so if you make a change to someone's birthday or add someone's birthday in a ClubRunner, it will get sent to RI. The same with home address, business address, home phone, and so forth. Now, what we recommend is that at the club level here, when you're on the screen that says RI integration and RI integration settings, at this screen, turn everything on. I'm going to turn on allow birthday. I'm going to update the privacy. Now, why? The reason for that is member by member, they have their member by member, they have their own privacy settings. And by the way, I do apologize a little in advance if I'm speeding up a little bit. We have a lot of ground to cover. So if you turn on all the settings, if you check all the boxes, members can go into their own profile and they can turn off options. I want to talk about birthday real quick. So I've allowed birthday. What that means is I'm going to send RI birthday information. Let's say 5 members of your club or 10 members or whatever. They're like, well, I don't want to send my birthday information, and they have the right to say that. So I'm going to scroll up and I'm going to go edit a profile. I'm going to edit my profile. I'm going to go to my ClubRunner and I'm going to click on my profile. Every member in your club can click on my ClubRunner and my profile, and they can change their privacy settings. This is my member profile. I'm logged in as this person. Okay. Underneath the photo is personal Rotary biography, and then the last one is privacy. This is what I want to focus on really quickly. If I click on privacy and I scroll down, the club has opted to send in the birthday. If I click the blue edit button, I can uncheck that. In other words, I'm saying on my behalf, on this member's behalf, on Marcy's behalf, I do not want to send my birthday information. The club is still opted in, but the member supersedes the club. What that means is while the club will send birthday information, my account, Marcy, will not. And you can you'll notice that you can do that for all the other privacy settings. So I'm going to go back to RI integration and RI integration settings. Okay, and so you'll see I'm still allowing birthdays right here. Okay, but at the member level, I myself have opted out of sending birthdays. So that's what this R integration privacy policy means. Your club sends, decides what to send. As a kind of a recommendation, send everything. Allow the members themselves to opt out of things that they don't want sent, for example, cell phone or what have you. Okay, I want to scroll down a little bit. There's something called an RI integration, pardon me, notification contact. Okay. So the notification contact, in case of any issues, in case of any discrepancies with the database, someone gets emailed. By default, the current year secretary will get emailed any kind of conflicts or issues. Somebody in the club has to get emailed. So we choose the current year secretary if you choose no one else. So right now nobody is selected. So the current year secretary will get the emails. If you click select automatically, you can choose who in your club will get the email. So, we kind of have rules. If there's no current year secretary defined, it'll go to the president. I'm sorry, to the last year's secretary. But let's say there's someone in your club, he or she's the membership manager. If you click and select them from the list, that person will get the email from RI, and we'll kind of cover what that means. I'm going to click Save. Okay, so I'm going to be getting the emails, and we'll get into what all that means. Okay, so I'm going to scroll up, okay, and I've turned on RI integration, and everything's good to go. All right, so what I want to do is I want to talk about, well, okay, this is all turned on, and we talked about all these options. what does that mean? What do I do everything on ClubRunner? Do I do everything on RI? There's nothing wrong with working on Rotary International. If you, let's say, we're going to add a member right now. Let's say you add a member on Rotary International, you can always pull the information down from Rotary International. But if you add the member in ClubRunner, it will automatically send to Rotary International. We like to say, think of a building with 3 floors, club, district, and RI. There's an elevator that automatically goes up, but then there's stairs that go down. I'm going to repeat that. If you have a building and the levels are club, district, RI, it'll automatically send up, but it will manually come down. So there's really no mistake or bad thing if you do it to RI. If you add a member in RI, you can just manually grab that member information from RI, bring it down to the club. If you do it at the club level, then it'll automatically get pushed to RI. There's nothing else for you to do. Okay, so I want to add a member because we need to add this member not only in ClubRunner but also in RI. So the next step is I'm going to add a member. I'm going to go along these top blue tabs. I'm going to click on membership, and I'm going to go to member list. I want to go to the list of my members, and we're going to add a member in. These are the current members, by the way, all fictitious. None of these people are real. So if I click add new member, okay, I'm just going to really quickly new member. Okay, I'm going to very quickly add this person into ClubRunner. So I'm adding him at the website. Yeah, actually, I'll just give him a Joe Smith. Okay, so I'm just going to fill in some test information. None of this is going to be real. Okay, all right. So there you go. I'm not even going to fill in the email address because this is what I really care about. Now, of course, you'll do a much better job of filling in the information. Don't worry that, you're like, well, where's the phone number and where's, where can I fill in all the... This is just to get you ready. This will create the member profile. This is the minimum information RI needs. And then when the member profile is created, you'll have a lot more opportunity to add fields like cell phone and all this other stuff. But this is just the minimum information Rotary International needs. And as you see, I've skimmed through it very quickly. This is what I really want to do. There's 2 options, report or do not report. I want to report this new member to Rotary International. I'm going to say that Joe Smith is brand new to Rotary. He's never been a Rotarian before. He's going to join our club. I have no idea what his member ID is because he actually doesn't have one. He's not a, he's not a current existing Rotarian. That's okay. If you are 100% sure what someone's Rotary member number is, feel free to add it in. If you're only 90 to 95% sure what their ID is, but the member's like, I'm not really sure that that's my ID, do not send an ID. The reason for that is Rotary International will check the member ID for you. And in the case of Joe Smith, who's never been a Rotarian, if they're brand new to Rotary, they'll generate a member ID and send it back down to ClubRunner. So don't worry if you don't know the member ID or you're like half and half sure. If you're 100% sure, fill in the member ID. If you're not, leave it blank. I'm going to add this member, making sure to select that I want to send the information to Rotary International. Because I've turned on my synchronization, Rotary International realizes pardon me, that I'm doing something. Now, this is what I mean by now you have the chance I apologize. Now you have the chance to add in more information. So I can add in their company name. I can add in all his phone or cell number and all that stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go back to member list now. Like I said, we are going to be skimming through a lot of things. There's a lot of ground to cover. Please do ask any questions along the way, and then I'm going to keep going. So I've added in Joe Smith. There he is, right there. Okay, and so what I want to do is that I'm also going to terminate a member. Okay, because we're going to pretend that, just regular club work along the way, you're going to add a member, you're going to terminate a member. So what we're going to do is, let's see who I would like to terminate. Let's maybe Melantha. So Melantha Gollyhawk, she's left our club for whatever reason. I want to terminate her. So once again, I've turned on integration. I'm going to click change status. Okay, I'm going to terminate her membership. Okay, like I said, it's kind of a basic thing. And then I'm going to terminate her today, and maybe she's moved. Okay, you can choose any option you want. Once again, this is what I want to focus on. I'm sending, adding members, terminating. I'm sending all this stuff to Rotary International because I want to make sure that I don't need to do double work, right? So I'm going to terminate this person, and I want RI to be aware of it. Okay, I'm going to click Terminate Member. All right. And then we're just going to wait a second. All right. And then Melantha, Miss Gallihawk, will be terminated. All right. So she's off the list. Now, there is a way to see, okay, I've done some work, but how do I actually know what's gone through, what hasn't, has there been any issues? There's a way to compare and synchronize what's on ClubRunner versus what's on RI. So now that we've done some very basic steps, like we've added a member, and I've done it really quickly, we've terminated a member, once again, did it really quickly. I just wanted to show you the process. Now what I want to do is I want to see, well, what's on ClubRunner and what's on RI? Okay, so I'm going to click here on RI integration, and it'll give me all this, the tabs of the settings. I want to go here to compare and synchronize. So I'm going to let this screen load up. What compare and synchronize is a way for you to see what's on Rotary International and what's on Tavistock, and how do we sync them? In other words, how do we make them the same? Okay, so I want to talk briefly about members in sync, and by the way, give me 1 second here. I want to talk about RI integration. Generally speaking, when you're talking about RI integration, there are major versus minor issues, okay? Those are kind of the two broad categories we're going to talk about, issues or conflicts, okay? So I want to talk. We're gonna cover this right now. Okay. So if I go here, okay, I'll move this out of the way. Members in sync. What members in sync means? Marcy and Morley and Fanchin and Rick and Peter, they are in ClubRunner. They are listed in RI. So they're a match. Here's the member IDs, when the last time the member profile has been updated. But for all intents and purposes, these members, these 11 members, are synced. So there's not much else for you to do. They're in good shape. Now, I want to get to the heart of the matter, which is, why are we doing all this stuff? This is for billing, okay? You're going to have semi-yearly billing. So what that means is RI will send you a bill. You've got 30 members in your club, 130 members in your club, or 131 members. The reason for all this syncing is so that you get no surprises when RI sends you a bill, usually in July and then usually in December. So you want to make sure that all this stuff, essentially all your members will hopefully end up here, members in sync. If you have 11 members in your club and you got 11 records that are in sync, you're in great shape. Okay, now let's say that that's not going to happen. Okay, I want to talk about this. So the way that this screen is presented is that it's presented in all these different sections. We talked about members in sync. One of the next sections is member name mismatches. What this means is there's a certain name in ClubRunner, Harry, and then there's a certain name in Rotary, Harold. You're going to see this, whereas Jim versus James, or what have you. So member name mismatches, it just means that the name doesn't quite match. We're going to list that as a minor issue. That doesn't mean you should ignore it or whatever. It just means this will not affect your billing. So this minor issue, Harry versus Harold, RI knows about Harold or Harry. This is the member ID, so everything is synced. Now we are going to go and we're going to fix this. Because even though it's minor, we just want to get it out of the way. I'm going to click on compare. What this compare button does, what's on ClubRunner versus what's on RI. I'm going to click on compare. Okay, and it's going to take me to a different screen, and it's going to say, well, here are the the differences or the discrepancies between Harry and Harold. What this screen is on the left side, everything that's in ClubRunner. Okay, and on the right side, everything that's in Rotary International. These arrows, you'll see a blue one and an orange one. This is the direction of the data. If an arrow is pointing in this direction, the data is going to travel in this direction. In other words, Harry will overwrite Harold because this is the direction that the data is flowing from left to right. Now I can click on this arrow and I can flip the direction. If the arrow is in this direction, Harold will overwrite Harry because that's the direction that the data is flowing. Okay, but I actually, you know what, Harold is probably his formal name. He probably goes by Harry in the club, but this is his, let's say this is on his driver's license or whatever. So we're going to make Harold his formal first name. You can always put in a middle name or nickname or any of that stuff, but well, let's say Harold is his formal name. So we're going to make the direction flow here. You'll see a lot of green equal signs. Equal signs is great. This is actually just means his last name matches, his date of birth matches. By the way, none of this is real. You know, his date joined club, all his address. So everything else is a green equal sign all the way down. That's fantastic. So we're going to push Harold. We're going to grab Harold. We're going to put it in a ClubRunner. We don't want Harry because that's an informal name. And by the way, the databases cannot make these decisions. They just don't, you know, they don't know how to. This is meant for the secretary or the president to say, well, what is correct? We try our hardest not to overwrite data so that you can make this decision if you need to. So Harold is going to overwrite Harry. I'm going to click Synchronize Selected Fields. There's going to be only one field. Harold is going to overwrite Harry. Okay, and I'm going to click Synchronize. All right. It says, you sure you want to do that? Because we're going to overwrite information now. I'm going to click OK. All right. Okay, here, hold on. Let's make sure it goes through. Give it a second, please. All right. We are, like I said, we're not in the production environment, so fantastic. Okay. So then the names match. You'll notice it's no longer Harry in ClubRunner. It's Harold. So that's fantastic. We're done with Harry versus Harold because we've taken care of that. I'm going to click Go Back. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the Compare and Synchronize screen. Okay. And you'll see here that he wasn't here before, but Harold Lowry, aka Harry, is now a member in sync. In other words, we're just going to leave him alone. He's perfectly in sync. Okay. I want to talk about member type mismatches. Okay. What this means is there are a certain member type in ClubRunner versus a different member type in Rotary, and there's actually two. I tried to terminate Chad Wright earlier, but my Wi-Fi dropped. You know, I was off a laptop, and then Melantha, the termination did not go through. That's going to happen every once in a while. It doesn't happen all the time, but it will happen sometimes where you try to send something to RI and it doesn't go through. That's the whole reason this screen exists. So I tried to terminate Melantha, but it didn't go through. And then Chad, I was on a laptop and my Wi-Fi dropped, and it also didn't go through. So they are an ex-member in ClubRunner. In other words, they terminated properly in ClubRunner, but they're still listed as a member in RI. Okay? So what this means is we need to terminate them because this is what I was talking about, the billing surprises. Right now, according to RI, there are two extra members. There's Melantha and Chad, who are ex-members or terminated in ClubRunner, but they are not terminated on Rotary International. There's two ways you can do this, and you can't really do this in ClubRunner because you've already terminated them in ClubRunner. If you are the president or the secretary of the club, you can log into myrotary.org and you can terminate Melantha and Chad on the RI website yourselves as president or secretary, and then they'll be in sync. They'll be an ex-member in ClubRunner, they'll be an ex-member in RI. If you're now on the myrotary.org website, someone like a non-executive, like a regular member, they can't do terminations. So let's say you're in charge of this, but you are not the club secretary, which does happen. You can't, or you may not remember your myrotary.org login. So there's a second option if logging into myrotary.org doesn't work. You can send an email to data@rotary.org. Like I said, don't worry if you don't remember this. We'll be sending an email to all of you, but you're going to send an email to data@rotary.org. What that means is these are the database administrators, and what you can say, like as an example, please terminate Melantha, I'm not going to spell her last name, G, actually it's probably better than, since you're watching, I probably should, you want to spell out everybody's, the member's complete first and last name, member ID, and then I'm just going to copy and paste this, okay? So, and there you go, right? It doesn't have to be a long, email. You can mention that I am club secretary or what have you, right? This is literally like a quick little email you can send. If RI needs more information, they'll email you back. But essentially, the RI database administrators, they'll take care of this for you if you can't or don't have the capacity to log on to myrotary.org and make these changes. Email data@rotary.org. They will fix this for you if you're not able to. Okay, so and this is literally an example of an email. It doesn't have to be detailed. You can add more information if you like. For example, who you are and your own club role. Okay, so that's what a member type mismatch is. And they can be addressed. Okay, now, I want to scroll down and I want to move on to members missing in RI. I actually want to do this in tandem. I know we're going one at a time, but I actually want to talk about both of these. Members missing in RI and then members missing in ClubRunner. So what that means is, let me scroll down just a little bit more so you can see this, okay? Members missing in RI, these are members who are listed in ClubRunner. They're listed as active, but they're not listed in RI. And this is the inverse. These are members, they have Rotary IDs, but they're not listed in ClubRunner. Okay, so we can actually take care of both of these. Okay, so I want to talk about one specific example. This happens a lot. If you'll notice, Steve Locke, and it could be Stephen Locke, by the way, but Steve Locke, he's listed in both of these tables. Steve Locke, he's missing in RI. He is an active member in ClubRunner. And then Steve Locke, he's listed in Rotary, and he's also an active member in Rotary International. So how did that happen? Well, it's because Steve Locke is missing his ClubRunner member ID. This may happen from time to time. Someone will delete their member ID or whatever. It just happens. So if it ends up happening, and well, this Steve Locke is the same as that Steve Locke. And by the way, this is where you want to talk to your club secretary, unless you're the club secretary. You want to verify that, and this actually happens a lot too. Watch out for fathers and sons, mothers and daughters. Sometimes they have this, Steve Locke Jr., Steve Locke Sr. You want to make sure this is not the case. In this case, there's only one Steve Locke. There's no son or father. So I've kind of verified that this and this is the same person. It's very important to verify that it's, you don't have like a Steve Locke Jr., okay? Once I verify that, I can copy this. So I'm going to highlight this, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to copy 824-773-7737, okay? And then I'm going to edit Steve Locke's member profile in ClubRunner. To edit his profile, I'm going to click here on Lock Steve, okay? It's going to take me to Steve Locke's member profile. And I've already copied the 824 number. Once again, I'm here visiting Steve Locke's profile. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. He's got all his tabs, personal Rotary biography. I'm going to click here on Rotary, and I'm going to input his Rotary member ID. You'll see that it's missing. It's blank, and that's an important field. Just so you know, Rotary International, it syncs with the ID even before it syncs with the name. So it'll check the member ID even before the name, because some women, they get married, they change their maiden name, they change their maiden name, what have you. So it treats the ID, that supersedes even the name of the member. So I'm going to click edit, because the member ID is a very important field, and I'm going to just paste, okay? So I'm going to paste this in. Okay, now one thing I want to watch out for when I paste, this is something that happens. Watch out for an ending space. Yeah, I'm going to do that again. See how there's an empty space? You definitely want to watch out for that. You want to delete any empty spaces. I'm going to put one at the beginning, and you can see that there's an empty space or a gap. You want to watch out for any kind of empty spaces or weird characters, like this is not acceptable, this will not sync, right? So you have to be careful. The RID is literally just a number. There's nothing else, and there's no like, you know, that's not a number and that's not a number, okay? So watch out for spaces and fancy characters. You just want, usually it's a 6 to 7 digit number. For example, this is too long, right? This is not a valid RID, okay? So I'm going to click Save, okay? Now here's the thing, because we've turned on integration, remember that Steve Locke was not synced. He is automatically synced. We automatically push this to RI, and we can verify that. If I go back up to RI integration and I click on Compare and Synchronize, because I've gone to the trouble of adding his member ID, if you'll notice, here is Steve Locke safe and sound in our nice members in sync. I'm going to highlight him again. There's his member ID. He's an active member in ClubRunner. He's an active member in RI. That's fantastic. By the way, this is not his date joined club. If you'll notice, this is last updated. You might be thinking, wait a second, Steve Locke, he's been a member for 10 years. He did not join Rotary, today. This is not his date joined club. This is the last time his profile has been edited. It's been edited today. Okay? I'm going to scroll down, and you can see that slowly we're thinning through all these things. There's still a couple names to take care of. Joe Smith and Toby Zigler have been added into ClubRunner, but they didn't get sent to RI. Now what I did is I added these names, and then I turned on RI integration, because we really, and that happens sometimes. Sometimes you'll start working and then you'll only turn on our integration after 2 weeks or whatever. So that will happen, and that's why this occurs, is that I add them in ClubRunner, but I didn't have our integration turned on when, so I'm going to take care of these. So, and by the way, before I move on, members missing an RI, I kind of like looking at these two columns together, because these are 4 different names. These names do not match. If there was another Toby Zeigler, down here, then I would try to find out if it's the same person and then copy and paste the member ID. But these are 4 distinct individual names. So here's what I'm going to do. For Joe Smith, I'm going to add the member to RI. What this button does is it says, okay, for my first attempt at sending Joe Smith did not go through. I'm going to add him again. And it always says, you sure you want to do that? I'm going to click OK. All right. And a request will get sent to Rotary International that please add Joe Smith into the RI database. It's scheduled. It doesn't always go through. In fact, it usually won't go through right away. I'm going to show you. I'm going to scroll down. You'll see Joe Smith there. He said, hey, I clicked the button. Why isn't he sent? It can take up to 24 hours to add a member, especially if they're a new Rotarian. Sometimes a human being has to check and assign a member ID to that person, okay? So don't worry that I already clicked this, why hasn't it gone through? Give it 24 hours. I have not clicked it for Toby Zeigler. So I'm going to click here, add member to R. I'm going to do the exact same thing. You sure want to add them? I'm going to click OK, all right? And then a request will get sent to Rotary International. Please add Toby into the RI database. Give it some time because it's being scheduled, so you might have to check back tomorrow, right? 24 hours, okay? I've taken care of these 2 members, so there's nothing left to do now but wait for them to be added. A member ID will be generated for them. So we've kind of taken care of this. Now remember, we talked about member type mismatches, right? Where you're going to, if you need to, you can send an email to data@rotary.org for these members. So what that leaves, it leaves this last field, members missing in ClubRunner. Now this is actually relatively easy. We have no delay. If RI sends us information, we're going to put it in the database right away. Rick Skimson and Kenneth Summers, they're both members in RI. We can add them into ClubRunner. In fact, what I'm going to do for Rick Skimson, I'm going to click here, add member to ClubRunner, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click OK, and what that means is it's taking the information from Rotary International. It's just exporting it and putting it all into ClubRunner. There is no delay when you do it from here. When you add a member from RI into ClubRunner, we know that RI is a viable source, and we know also that they have a valid ID, so they're going to be added in. Now, I'm going to click again on Toby Zeigler. Oh, okay. All right. So give me 1 second. All right. Oh, okay. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. I want to make sure I'm doing okay. So, all right. So I must have clicked the wrong button here, but this is good. Like we want these conflicts to occur. I want to show you what's happening. So Toby has been added in now. You know what? Why this is happening is I'm a little too fast on the trigger. You know, thinking, okay, well, why is Toby Zeigler, why is he listed again? You know, he's got an RID. It should get sent to ClubRunner. I'm going to click on compare and synchronize again. Sometimes if you do this a little too quick, the databases, they sometimes need a bit of time to catch up. So let me see if I do this right. I'll come back to Toby Zeigler, but I definitely want to add Kenneth Summers. So I'm going to click add member to ClubRunner. Okay. And it's going to say, you sure want to add this member? All right, and I'm going to add Kenneth Summers in, and let's just see what happens, okay? Like I said, this is not our production environment. It can be, yeah, it's a little different than the production environment. So let's see what happens. Okay, Kenneth has been added in. Okay, so Kenneth has been added in. Now, I'm looking at Kenneth right here. He's in our trustee, members in sync, so he's been added in right away. Okay, now Toby Zeigler, I think it's just because we're not in a production environment, we're in development. I want to add this member in. Now, RI has generated an ID for me. Actually, I'm sorry, I apologize. He's already had an ID, so I'm going to copy this, okay, just like I did for the other member, and I'm going to go to Toby Zeigler's profile, okay? And I know we've done this. I just want to review it because it is important to know how to do this. I'm going to go edit his profile in ClubRunner. I'm going to add his ID in manually. Sometimes you don't have to do this. Like I said, this is not the regular, even though the interface is exactly the same, this is what our developers use. So sometimes it just doesn't stick. So I'm going to paste, right, the member ID. And you'll notice, do you see the space at the end? Just be careful of that. I'm going to hit backspace, and I'm going to go to the beginning, and I'm going to make sure there's no leading space, right? I don't want that. So there's no spaces. Oops, I definitely want the one. And I'm going to click Save, okay? And like I said, it's all instant. So we push that information to RI, and then I'm going to click on Compare and Synchronize again, okay? And I'm going to View. And so now all we have is member type mismatches, okay? So what that means is these are the ones where we were sending the email to data@rotary.org. Sometimes it takes 24 or 48 hours to process for the RI database admins, but they will address this issue, okay? I'm sorry, these two issues of these two members. All right, so in a nutshell, that's our integration. Now, I want to cover a few more things. So what I'll do is, I know we've gone over time, and I apologize about that. This is a very large topic, but I want to make sure that we cover a few things. Okay, I want to talk about the member updates archive. All right, so well, what that means is we keep track of everything, every integration attempt that's happened through ClubRunner, whether it passes or fails, succeeds or whatever. If I click on Member Updates Archive, I can actually see what's happening. The last thing, one of the last things I did, right, was I added Toby Zigler. So you can see that a complete history of everything. Now this is all members for all events or all types, so it's going to be a very long list. Now you can, for example, just I'm sorry, ignore all this. You can just focus on one member. Okay, I'm going to go to Toby Zigler and show just Toby's history. What did I do? I added a new member. Now this is very important. I added Toby Zigler. I know from the previous screen that he's, in fact, let's compare again. I want to verify, okay? I want to make sure. I'm going to click Compare and Synchronize. Okay, there he is. I know that he's in sync, okay, because he's in members in sync. I know I added him in properly because he's right there. Now, if I go to Member Updates Archive, it's saying, and I want to just focus on Toby Zigler, okay? It's saying, well, wait a second, it didn't go through the first time. Like I said, this is our development environment. Sometimes that happens. But I know that he's added in, so what I'm going to say is I'm going to mark this issue as resolved. Here, I'm going to click on this. Well, what this means is there was an initial issue. It has been resolved. Toby is an active member in ClubRunner and Rotary International. This is actually kind of a long comment. I like adding long comments because, you know, anybody who's never seen this before knows exactly the history. You can just say resolved, right? I mean, it's nicer if you can add a longer comment. Just the more descriptive, the better. But you know, if you want to just say resolved or whatever, that's fine. But the comment is very useful for an archive because, like I said, everything is archived. Any interaction, any attempt, so we can always trace and we can go back in time and see what's going on. I'm going to click Save. When I click Mark as resolved and when I type in a comment, what I'm saying is this issue is resolved. Okay. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at all members. Okay. There might be another issue that needs to be resolved. Now, Joe Smith, I know he's a new member because we spent some time adding him in. If I don't click Mark as resolved, here's what happens. Remember we went back, I'm going to scroll up and I'm going to go to our integration settings. Okay? And remember at the bottom of our integration settings, there was a notification contact, which is me right now. I'm logged in as Marcy. I'm going to get sent an email about any conflicts. So because I'm the notification contact, I'm going to scroll up. I'm going to go back to Member Updates Archive. I will be sent an email about Joe Smith and also about Harold Lowry, right? Now, I know that these already went through, so that's why you go here and you click Mark as resolved, and you say, okay, I've already addressed these issues. I've changed Harold's, Harry's name to Harold. Joe Smith is added as a member. If you don't click Mark as resolved here, an email will trigger and say, please, if you wouldn't mind looking at these issues, that's on purpose. We want you to be aware of these issues because we can all do something together. Now, remember, you're never on your own. So if you come across an issue where it's like, you know what, I haven't solved it, or I don't know how to solve it, or I'm not sure what to do, or I tried to click this button, or I tried to reach RI. If you come across an issue like that, you can always email us. Okay. So if there's any problems or issues, you can always email us at support@clubrunner.ca. This is when we send an email today or tomorrow morning to all of you, it will be coming from support@clubrunner.ca. So you'll be able to email us with any questions, issues, I tried this, but there's a problem with that. Like I said, our integration, there's a lot to cover, but everything can be resolved, everything can be addressed. So don't be too frustrated if something's not happening or it's not working exactly the way you want. Please do send us an email. We'd be happy to hear from you and take a look. Okay? Give me 1 second. Okay? Boy, I'm really sorry. I know. I want to talk about one last thing because it is important. That is sending your executives. Okay, I'm going to click here on Executive Compare and Synchronize, and I'm sorry, I definitely want to answer your questions, what this screen means, I'm gonna go back to the administration screen. I don't want to go too fast here. So I'm logged in, and you're like, okay, well, does RI know about who my secretary is and who my treasurer and president and all that is? To find that out, along the top blue tabs, I'm going to click on our integration, Executive Compare and Synchronize, and it's going to load this screen. What this screen does is it shows me, okay, what's, just like you've seen before, what's on ClubRunner, always on the left side, what's on RI, always on the right side, and let's compare the two. So ClubRunner and RI does have my president. That's a great start. That means that ClubRunner and RI know that Eva McLaren is my club president. However, I went and I input my executives on our Rotary International. So Peter Francis is my treasurer and Eva is also the club membership chair. But ClubRunner doesn't know that. And you might see it vice versa. You might see a name in ClubRunner but blank in R. That just means you inputted something in ClubRunner. Now, normally it automatically gets sent to RI. So for example, Club Foundation Chair, Actually, Club Secretary is a great example. Right now, it's empty on both sides. I'm going to go, and I know I'm way over time. I'm going to do this really quickly. I apologize. I'm going to go add my Club Secretary. Sorry for going so fast, but I'm going to add them in. Okay, and here, let's go like this. All right. All right, and I'm going to choose a member at random. Let's say Charlene is going to be our secretary. Okay, now once I add them into ClubRunner, I'm going to go back to RI integration, executive compare and synchronize. Okay, and there we go. Now I did it really fast, so it probably hasn't had time to push to World International. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start synchronizing things. So I'm going to check the box for Club Secretary. You notice the flow of data. Charlene Mound is going to go in this direction, so it's going to overwrite the blank in World International. Peter Francis is going to go in this direction, so it's going to overwrite the blank in ClubRunner, and then same with Eva McLaren. I'm going to check these three boxes, and I'm going to synchronize the selected positions. In other words, let's get the executives in sync. It says, are you sure you want to do that? I'm going to click OK. All right. And then it's going to take a second, and it's going to push left and right, back and forth. So something from ClubRunner, something from RI. Okay. Now you might see that, hey, Charlene has an, oh, okay. Oh, this is. I'm going to skip this. I'm very, very sorry. It's just I'm way over time, and I want to answer your question. So I apologize. If you see that, please do send us an email. I definitely want to go into this, but it kind of opens up a box of all these other things that I haven't talked about. As you may have noticed, our integration is a pretty. It covers a lot of bases, membership and executives and so forth. I'm sorry. I'd love to get into this, but it'll start to snowball into other things, and I want to have a little bit of time to answer your questions. While we have the time now, and I know we went over time, does anybody have any questions? Please do type them in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to unmute everybody's microphone. So if you do have a microphone, you can go ahead and speak. And I'm only going to use first names Kevin, Lanny, or Lindsay. If you have any questions and you have a microphone, you can speak into the microphone. All right. I'm going to take that. I'm going to mute everybody's microphone. This is actually great. It looks like, at least to this point, I don't see any questions. I hope that I haven't gone too fast. I do apologize. Like I said, there's a lot of ground to cover in this webinar. It's usually one of our longest. There's a lot of stuff I haven't covered, so you know, a lot of intricacies and other things. Let's just okay. Since I have the time and since you're here, I definitely want to talk about this. If I click on Admin right here in the blue tab, and I click on Club Info and Settings, okay. We also sync your club information, your meeting time, you know, all your club website. All of this also gets sent to Rotary International. Okay, so if I go here, and this is my club information. When do we meet? We meet Mondays at 6:45 at this restaurant. This information, this information gets sent to RI. Now, right away, this is wrong. We didn't charter in 1900, although. Well, actually, that's before Rotary existed, so we couldn't have chartered in 1900. I want to change this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click Edit. Okay, I'm going to change our charter date. Let's say we got chartered in, I don't know, 1992. So I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to change the charter date to 1992. Okay, and I don't know let's say it was January 30th, 1992, right, or whatever your charter date as a club. How long has your club existed? Since 1992. So you can change all this club information. If I click Save, okay, it's like I said, the integration is turned on already. It gets pushed to RI. So if I go into RI integration, and then I go into Club Updates Archive. We've seen the Member Updates Archive. I'm going to go to Club Updates Archive. Okay. You're going to see that all this stuff gets sent. Okay. So this is cleared because, you know, the information has been sent. Okay. Because of this, and I want to kind of I want to repeat this. I know we've already talked about it. If I click on our integration settings, this is checked. So as long as this box is checked, ClubRunner and RI are going to do its best to communicate with each other. The communication will break down sometimes. It just happens, your Wi-Fi drops, whatever the reason is. That's why we have the compare and synchronize screen. That's why we have resources like data at rotary.org, and that's why we have resources like support at clubrunner.ca. If you do run into any issues or any problems, and not everybody in your club is here and members in Sync, not to worry. Please do contact RI or contact us. We'd be happy to go over more information with you. I have a question which I actually want to address, okay? It's a very good question. Lenny is asking, can only presidents and secretaries do updates and edits? Yes, on RI. So, secretaries and presidents, okay? Yes, on RI. They're the only ones allowed. They are the ones allowed to make changes on RI website. On ClubRunner, no. So you don't have to be a president or secretary on ClubRunner. You do have to have the proper access level. Okay, and I haven't talked about levels, but if you're a regular member, okay, and access levels are 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, all right? These are the access levels at the club, and if someone is a level 70, what that means is they are a regular member. They don't have access to do much. So on ClubRunner, we don't prioritize the club position or the executive position. We prioritize the access level. You need to be at level 50 to make most of these changes. 50, 40, 30, we consider these the proper access level to make changes. On RI, it's different. They prioritize the position. If you don't have an official, by the way, it's more than just secretary and president. You can also be the executive secretary, the treasurer is allowed to do certain things, but RI prioritizes position, ClubRunner prioritizes access level. So thank you, Lanny, for asking that question. It's a great question. I have essentially doubled our time today, but I kind of knew I would. I wanted to make sure we covered as much ground as possible. I hope we've covered as much as we can. There's still a lot that we haven't got into, like access levels and stuff. That's on purpose because we can dive really deep with compare and synchronize. I am going to stop it only to let you go and get on with your day, but I really want to thank you for hanging in there. I know we covered a lot. We have, when you registered for this webinar and you input your email, that means we have your email on file. So what I'll do at the end of today or tomorrow morning, I'll send everybody an email with this article, how to set up automatic integration with RI if you haven't already done so. And then any of these notes that we've talked about, it's also a way for you to, these notes right here, okay? I didn't mean to get rid of it so fast. It will also be a way, if you have a direct question or you wake up tomorrow morning and you're like, oh, I really should have asked this or whatever, you can respond to the email. It'll come straight back to us, and you can always call us. This will be on the email, but I'm gonna give it to you anyways. Our toll-free number, 877-469-2582, option 2 for support. Okay, you can call or email us. This will be on the email that I'm going to send to all of you. But I really want to thank you all for hanging in there. I'm going to have to close it off now just because we're way over time. But thank you very much for attending today's webinar. If you have any more questions, please do call or email us. Otherwise, have yourselves a great day. Thanks a lot.